one of the questions that I'm asked all the time is when folks come to me and say, Davida, how do I get in Eastern Market, right? You're there, Linda, at Eastern Market. So are you behind your booth at Eastern Market? What day? Are you there on Tuesdays, on Saturdays?
I've got family work.
On which day?
On Tuesday.
On Tuesdays.
I work.
Which is, that's exactly where I was going with this. And that, the reason why I was going with this is that you still work.
I have a full-time job.
Still have a full-time job as you are growing Mrs. Pruitt's Gourmet Cha-Cha. So what's the vision? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to see it?
Most definitely Whole Foods. Where's Ben? Whole Foods in Michigan and the nation. And I mean, I'm online.
Oh, you're
working on my website.
Okay.
To develop that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Linda, how many, you got, is it all family that's working with you?
Yes, it is.
So it's a family-owned business.
Yes.
Any questions in the audience for Linda?
I do. I have a question.
Yes, Natasha.
You mentioned you went with a co-packer.
Yes.
So can you kind of describe that? I don't know if you went over that process of how you obtained a co-packer. What made you go with a co-packer?
So the co-packer he's a licensed kitchen, and I have to go through, well, he had to go through the Michigan Department of Agriculture, and we needed to make sure that it was gluten-free, which my product is. It's a gluten-free kitchen, and they had to, I guess, go through a fine-tooth comb just to make sure that all that was up to date, and we went through, I guess, specifications and all that. But the manufacturer's license, so he prepares my product, prepares and packages and labels it.
And do you go, then you go pick it up, Linda,
Yes,
and then you distribute it?
Yes.
Where is he located?
In Hamtramck.
In Hamtramck. And what was that process finding a co-packer?
It was crazy. It was crazy. Trying to find a manufacturer, it's a small manufacturing company. It just took a while. Initially, I was going to go through a certified commercial kitchen because this first Gourmet Cha-Cha is so labor intensive, very, very labor intensive in terms of preparing that product. I'm glad that I'm going through a manufacturer because they've got the equipment, sterilized equipment to prepare that product safely.
Yeah. And so we'll get into this in the next panel, but Linda, I'm hoping that you can kind of kick it off and give us a little taste. Are the produce that is included in Mrs. Pruitt's Cha-Cha, is it locally?
It's local.
Yeah.
Anything local within the 50 mile radius. So yeah.
So you use local farmers for your produce?
I use local farmers and a few outside Detroit.
Okay. And that's very important. Any more questions for Linda? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Before they even put it in the jar, do you personally approve all of the ingredients before they manufacture it, put it in the jar?
Okay, so they had to do about 3 or 4 different samplings in terms of getting the product the way the way the recipe calls for. So it took about 3 or 4 times to get it right. Yeah. So he just does that the same way every time.
Do you go in periodically, Linda, and do testing to make sure that consistency is always there?
Before I even pick up a case.
Oh, so before you pick up a case, you taste it to make sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Constance.
So, Davida was talking about the idea of family recipe and family tradition.
Yeah.
Did anyone in your family have an issue with you revealing a
No,
family?
we had a family meeting.
Okay.
And we, looked everybody in the eye, this is what's going down. We got any issues, we need to talk about it now. Because it's a lot of legal stuff going on, and it's a lot of money being spent, so.
Right. And it all worked out?
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. We have legal documentation.
Okay, so you did have, yeah, that's, because I was wondering, just to follow up, so at the beginning, everybody was like, 'cause I'm sort of in that situation now with this family recipe, everybody's excited and encouraging, but then I think if it gets successful, then what happens? Like, people come back to you and say, oh, wait a minute.
No, and I'm glad that you pointed that out in terms of you all had a lawyer at the very beginning.
Yes.
And that only is not for family, but also to protect your recipe. I thought I saw a hand in the back.
Do you find that it's more cost effective to use a cold packer versus preparing it yourself?
Good question.
It's so much cheaper than co-packer. Definitely. We went overboard spending more money, getting the
yeah, that was a very good question. She asked, was it more expensive to use a co-packer than doing it herself? And Linda agreed. And a lot of it, and this is a problem that I see come up a lot, is that people don't take their time into consideration. I mean, we're having this debate right now nationwide about minimum wage, right? A fair and living wage. I mean, people right now are literally working for free based upon what they're preparing their product for, because they're not taking into consideration how much time it's taking them to prepare their product. So when you're talking about starting your food product, guys, not only do you have to look at the cost of your food, but the cost of your time is very important, especially as you begin to grow your business and you want to live off of this business. You have to price it right. So Linda said it was more advantageous for her to use a co-packer to do it as opposed to them doing it, because her recipe is very gourmet, very labor intensive. So that was a fantastic question. I thought I saw the hand. I'm gonna get you, but let me get this young lady right here first.
Is cha-cha, is that considered a fermented food?
It is.
It is.
I thought I saw a hand here.
And if you already answered this question, then don't answer it again just for me, but do you have to patent or somehow, how do you own that recipe? You know, you were worried about family members coming back maybe and saying, I want some part of this. Well, wait a minute, who actually owns it? Can you own a recipe? Can you protect it? And do you do that really like you would a patent?
So we have the recipe.
Linda, speak up a
Can you
little
speak
bit.
up?
We've gone through a lawyer, and it's covered, it's protected.
So what's it called when you protect a recipe? What is that?
You can't really protect the recipe. Yeah, you could, there's sometimes you can get around with copywriting the recipe, but even then, Dana just tried copywriting recipes and it didn't work for them. They went through a long lawsuit, and Dana and they still weren't able to hold up their own copyrighted recipes. So the short answer is there's not really an easy way to copyright your recipes.
And again, that's a very good question in terms of how do I protect my recipe? How do I, and here's what I tell folks all the time, and I'm glad Micah chimed in. You can't copyright or protect a recipe. And so people can try to duplicate it, but they can't, because it's always that little something that I'm serious when I say this. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Full disclosure, I don't believe I'm telling this to folks in this room, but I have tried to duplicate Red Lobster's cheddar biscuits. And I know what they do and what they put in it, but I can't. It doesn't. I tried. Is that what it is? It's Jiffy? Oh, okay. Well, that's not what's on the website. Okay, anyway.